The thing that I can't stand with AI though is AI designers. Okay? In fact, I actually have a dedicated Mac Mini, and it is my Claude Machine, and it automates a bunch of tasks that I normally would do. And so I'm living in Claude probably a good few hours per day. Even as AI improves, it's only ever average. It can never actually go above average. It will always create the average of what it sees online.
Hey everybody, I'm Joe Barron, founder of creative design studio Branded Barron and host of Market to Me, the podcast about branding, design, and the business side of doing creative work for a living. This is part 2 of my conversation with Rocky Roark. Rocky runs Blue Cyclops, an Atlanta-based branding studio. He's been in the industry for 20 years. He's branded some of the biggest names in crypto, B2B, law firms, and more. If you missed part 1, go back and listen to it. We got into pricing, like the arbitrary number of how every freelancer needs to make $10K a month, and if that's really a one-size-fit-all. Also, we discussed the importance of side projects, as well as a simple, but maybe crazy LinkedIn strategy to attract more clients, and so much more. Part 1 ended on Creative South. We were talking about the conference and the community down in Columbus, Georgia. This part picks up right in the middle of where we talk about stickers is like currency down there. Trading stickers instead of business cards, which leads us to a company that Rocky owned, then sold. From there, we discuss the turbulent AI topic. We talk about building systems for companies, as well what is and what isn't acceptable for branding. And there's a bit of a pushback, but it's good conversation. And as always, we end on the rapid fire question segment. Now, let's get into it. Could I attend this year? Not going to miss it. I got things lined up.
Yep.
But another thing is stickers are like currency down there. People love to pass around their stickers. At Creative South, send the business card, you get your own stickers. And with, some things are Slaptastic. And that leads to, oh yeah, you know it. You know it's coming. Let's talk about, like I said, when you were a founder of another business, it was because of slap stickers. Let's just dive into that because, it's a closed chapter, but it was an interesting topic because you were doing a subscription model before it was really popular. And that was, over 10 years ago. What was the idea behind creating, is it slap stickers or slapstick?
So it originally was slap stickers, and then it became Slaptastic.
Slaptastic. Okay.
And so the original idea for it was just to start creating sticker packs. This actually started when I was working at Focus Lab in Savannah. I created the hand logo with the Band-Aid on it and everything there. It originally started with, it was a group of stickers that I illustrated of designers. So like Draplin was in there, Raji King was in there. I think Mike Jones was in there and everything.
Who?
So there's a lot
Sorry.
there's a lot of like designers in there and everything. But we never got it made. We never made it. And so this idea was just sitting in the back burner for a couple of years. And then I got inspired by Inch by Inch, which also is no longer around, but it was a button subscription service. And I talked to him, I was like, hey, listen, I would love to bring back slap stickers and turn it into a subscription model. And I even took the packaging inspiration from them too. And they were totally cool about it and everything like that. And so I turned it into a subscription model. And instead of it being just me creating stickers, I brought in all these other illustrators and letterers who I knew from Creative South and other conferences. And they created a bunch of sticker designs. And mind you, there was no money being made from this business. Trying to do this at scale, unless you got sponsored by a sticker company, there was no possible way. So I'd be lucky to have enough money to pay my wife's friends who would come over and help us fill the sticker packs and lick the envelope. And I hand wrote every address on those envelopes for the first year, even probably longer than that.
It was a labor of love.
Oh yeah, there was like at the height of it, I think we had like 400 people subscribed.
But did you pay the designers? I'm just curious. Or
no, we didn't. We didn't pay
an agreement with royalties.
Yeah, they completely owned the artwork and everything. We were just printing them, and I would even send them sticker packs and everything when I can if I had excess and everything. But no one got paid because I didn't have the money for it. And whenever a designer had to bow out for some reason, I was the one that would jump in and create stickers. And there was many months where I had to create sticker packs within like a week's time in order to fulfill stuff. It was definitely a labor of love because it was very time consuming and it was very long to get stuff done. And then finally I think we launched it in 2015 or 2016.
You had a Kickstarter in 2015.
Yeah, we had the Kickstarter in 2015. We launched a subscription shortly after that. And then I sold it, I want to say in 2018, if I'm not mistaken, to a client. A client ended up buying it. And after that, like we parted ties with our freelance work, and then he took on the project and everything. And I don't think anything's coming of it. I think he hasn't touched it probably in quite a few years. But yeah, it was an interesting chapter, and I made a small little bit of money off of it. I ended up giving over half of it to my mom as a gift, and then I used the rest to pay off credit card debt that came from the business. So that showed you like how much it was, it took up. Like I'm pretty sure I was going into towards the end, probably a few $100s a month in credit card debt, just trying to keep it afloat. We were not bringing in much money. Yeah.
Well, first, I had some stickers left over, and I used to do comic book conventions and selling my own artwork and everything. I had a couple left over. I'm like, what am I going to do with it? Here you go. You can buy one of these stickers off. So I used that. I was like, all right, cool. And people did. So I was like, all right, great. So thank you for that. Since everything, I've seen subscription models and everything from t-shirts to obviously design software.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever think about like, hey, as a creative project, again, bringing something like that back?
In terms of a product that's the subscription or service, I actually did try a service a couple times. I actually created Red Cyclops.
I saw that. I was always wondering about that because you have your ecosystem is blue Cyclops, green Cyclops, red Cyclops. I'm like, what's going on
There
here?
was even purple, yellow, orange, pink, white. None of them actually had any like business behind them or ideas behind them. It was just like I had the domain names. I purchased all of them. Could never get bluecyclops.com because it's like $6,000 and I'm not going to pay for that. But Red Cyclops was kind of like my triad design subscription. We only had a couple of clients, and we only really had them for anywhere between 1 to 3 months. It really wasn't profitable, and trying to put the stuff out there for it was just, it just didn't work. I probably spent way too much money trying to get client acquisition, and it just wasn't happening. So I ended up tabling it. Would I ever bring it back? Maybe. I feel like I stick to retainers. For my clients, they still have some of that subscription model built into it, but I feel like the design subscriptions, they're more a fad and they can only do so much. It's more production design than it is actually being a creative partner. There's many people out there who try and sell their model as this is the best model, replicate it, you can do all this stuff. It's the same thing, and it's hard to really break from that. In terms of a subscription product, never in a billion years. Doing Slaptastic for, what was it, like 2-3 years and everything. No, that was enough. I don't even want to, I've had so many times where I wanted to create a merch brand and I'm like, I don't want to have to deal with drop shipping. I don't want to have to deal with sending out packages and everything like that. Otherwise, I probably would have had a storefront like so many other designers. Doing Slaptastic burnt me out from ever wanting to do that again. Now, will I possibly do like a merch brand in the future? Maybe, but it will be way different than what I was doing with this.
Got it. Yeah, no, I mean, doing that, it does get exhausting, especially if you're not hitting the goals that you're supposed to be hitting. It could be exhausting, even if you're what looks like to others you're doing well, which you might be, but it's a lot of, it could definitely burn you out. Definitely. I've felt burnout on that and for myself. So it's kind of tough. I've seen a couple people do design subscriptions. I've had one person who was like, it didn't really work for him. He's had more of whatever clients that he's always had, but trying to persuade them, buy me out pretty much per month, kind of like a bucket of hours in the sense where you pay me up front and then like you use me as you need. Again, you just have to convince people to understand, but if it's not happening, then that's what it is. So.
I think the biggest crutch with a design subscription is there was always this idea that it was kind of like a set it and forget it type mentality where you have a dashboard set up, they put in a request, you do it, you ship it, they give feedback, and then it's done. And that is the quickest way to cause churn with clients. Because if you're not actually like jumping on calls or having conversations with them or being interactive with them, they're going to be like, okay, they just see you for who you are. You're a cog in the machine and you're easily replaceable. You mess up once or twice and they're like, okay, you're out of there. Versus when you have a retainer where you're actually having a relationship with the client, you're communicating back and forth, you're sending each other gifts, you're like...
It shows you the expert.
They see you as an expert, but they also see you as like you're really invested in them. Then it creates a much longer connection. Like I've had retainer clients that last anywhere between a few months to I have a retainer client right now we're almost at the 4-year mark of working together. And so that speaks volumes for sure.
Again, it's the relationship that you've built through that. There was one thing that you shared on social, I forget which, I don't know if it was TikTok, Instagram, something. So one of those social media platforms that we are all stuck to look at and perform our duties to get eyeballs on us. In the video, you pretty much said that the more senior you get in your career, the harder it is to design for yourself. And I feel like personally, I've hit that wall as well a couple times. Do you feel that you should, first of all, have you been able to like find some sort of time to create personal work for yourself? Just to create and just like realize, hey, I'm a creative person. I enjoy doing this. The money comes as a bonus in a sense.
Short answer is no.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah. Like,
I mean, life gets in the way too. I understand that.
Oh
too.
yeah. Yeah. Like I identify the problem. I identify that, yes, as a senior creative, and mind you, I'm only 35, about to be 36. But as someone who has been doing this for as long as I have, like I am not as creative as I used to be. I don't have the opportunity to be as creative as I want to be because there's always admin stuff. There's always, like you were talking about, trying to put out content, trying to stay relevant, trying to, keep eyes on you and everything. That takes a lot of time. And then also fold in having a family, having a son and everything. Like I want to spend as much time with them. And so I'm not nearly able to sit there on the iPad or in my sketchbook and create for myself or create a side project and everything. But it is something that as creatives, we kind of have to do. We shouldn't just be creating just for our clients because that's not where you get a chance to play. That's not where a place that you get to learn. It's very rare that we can like learn on the job with a client, right? They come to you as an expert, as a professional. They expect you to keep going and already know these things and not have to experiment and play. So we as creatives, we have to find those moments. Sometimes I will sit here. If like there's a day where I don't have a lot of client work, I'll sit here and I'll doodle and I'll just like create random things. Does that happen every single day? No. Does it happen every week? No. Every month? Maybe. So it's not something that is necessarily as much as I would like it to be. And even now too, in creating like fun new projects to post online, does not happen that often. I wish it did, but I feel like as you get more senior, more things kind of get in the way of it.
Yeah, because you're realizing there's the bigger picture. I'm not going to say that you're less hungry, but there's more things that pile up that you have to take care of first. What I've been trying to do, because I've hit that stride. It comes and goes, the waves. If I can start my day with getting a couple sketches in, great. And maybe even if I'm not too tired at night, just try to get something. And I kind of, that's what I did last night, actually. It was great. There's this company called, I don't know, it's called the Creatives Trading Card Project. And they have like trading cards. And I thought
Nice.
it was blank cards. And what's cool is that, I did something super simple. I was like, whatever, skull back.
Nice.
It has gives you your official creative name, repping, where you're from and your signature. So kind of like if you're selling at an event or a convention, I think the people who do it were convention people. They're not con men. Created by Red Guardian. It's cool. All right. So, but I was doing that. It's just kind of a way I was doing it last night because I think my buddy Anderson Blue did something for Gary V's card thing. And and honestly, it was so random that I was already planning on doing that. And when I looked on my Instagram, that showed up. But again, it was just trying to be creative. I feel like you just kind of have to force yourself to do it.
Yeah, like it's actually reminded me, there was an artist that I used to follow a lot when I was in high school. He did a lot of comic book stuff. I want to say his name was Otis Frampton, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong with that. But he would do these little trading card drawings. He would do a live stream and he would do these drawings and he would sell them. So he would be like, all right, each one is like $40 or something like that. You basically tell me what to draw and I will draw it. And I had him do that a couple times. I remember I had him do Clint Eastwood from Good, Bad, and the Ugly, one of my favorite movies. And then I had him do Jack Sparrow.
Nice.
And so I had those. I have them somewhere. I know that, but I had him create those. And it was a fun little thing because you got to watch him draw. You got to engage with everybody. And it wasn't also even digital. It was all physical media using Prismacolor markers and Micron pens and everything. And mind you, this was probably between like 2007 and 2010 that he was doing this. And that's before anyone was live streaming. And yet here he was, set up a webcam and was just drawing on a drawing pad and everything the whole time.
That's pretty cool. I mean, again, I just happened to pick up the trading card because I had it a while ago and I just never did anything with it. And I was just like, oh, I have this. Let me do something. And just kind of force myself, avoid the iPad or avoid stepping in Illustrator or Photoshop or just like, let me just do something for myself. The only problem is now that I'm going to create a whole series and like throw it up on Etsy or my web shop where I'm just like, well, now it's thing for myself is now needs to make me money. So monetary
what you do
value.
is this. Actually do this. Instead of that, have it as a giveaway. Have it as a giveaway for your podcast. So that way, like listeners tune in, have them do a couple things, maybe on like Instagram or something like that. And then you give it away as a giveaway. Here's my trading card for the week. Who's going to get it? You have to do X, Y, and Z, and then you get more followers, more traction, and everything like that. That's what I would do.
That's fun. So that's a nice marketing tactic. Now I'm just thinking live streaming, since that's popular. Would you even consider doing your own live stream? You could doodle, you could draw. I've seen your sketches. You think you would like do a live stream on YouTube, maybe Twitch, but YouTube is where your subscribers are and they haven't seen you in a while. Oh, cool. Let's see what Rocky's up to this week.
I mean, I used to do it. I used to do live streaming mostly when I was in San Diego because I had a stable internet connection at the time. Now it's a lot more stable. We now have the faster internet and everything here, but I stopped doing it. Like all this setup, you guys see my video setup, my microphone, all the lights and everything like that. All of this was originally for live streaming and YouTube content. And every time I go to set up to start doing YouTube videos, it never happens. Live streaming, the biggest thing is just getting over that hump of just being on camera where no one's actually talking to you, or maybe there's one or two people in there, or just coming up with that idea of what to do. But now I could possibly do live streaming again because I actually have the stable internet connection. That was always my crux. I was always saying that's why I'm not doing this, is because, oh, my internet's so bad. Like my upload speed was like 35 megabytes, but now it's like 350 megabytes. So there's not really that excuse anymore.
Well, it's good to know that Georgia finally kept up with the times.
Yeah.
One thing I've noticed last year, you were heavy into AI design, mock-ups you've been using. You were like so doubling down on all of it. And then from the last couple of months, you switched gears. I wouldn't say you stepped off it, but you kind of switched gears where your thinking and response has been a little bit different. You've mentioned earlier to me, it doesn't make design worse. It makes bad design faster.
Yeah. Average faster.
Yeah. Could you like unpack that for me? You were so into it and now you're kind of scaling back and realizing that the importance of using it is much bigger, hitting the CEOs who may not understand the actual usefulness of your abilities and what you do, because everything at the end comes from your brain, your noggin.
Yeah. So I actually use AI a lot. I still, even going back from what you're talking about from last year and everything, I use AI every single day. In fact, I actually have a dedicated Mac Mini that my wife let me buy for Father's Day.
Fantastic.
And it is my Claude machine. Like it's connected to a monitor up. I have 3 monitors. I have 2 studio displays and I have a random LG monitor up at the top. And that is my machine, as I call it. So I'm constantly using that and it automates a bunch of tasks that I normally would do. And so I'm living in Claude probably a good few hours per day. In fact, right before this call, I maxed out 100% on my Claude usage for the first time in forever. But I use it in a specific way. I don't use it for any creative aspects. I use it to help, especially with my ADHD brain, where I can't remember names or I can't, stay on track with notes and things like that. So like, for instance, even though we're having this interview right here, I'm also transcribing the interview because I would like to pull out nuggets of wisdom that I talked about or possible topics for content and everything. For me, with AI, there's a big difference between what I'm using AI for and what other people are using AI for. What I talk against online is I talk against people using AI for everything, and especially for brand. So we talked about trust, right? Trust is very important. And what's happening is you have so many brands, so many startups out there who are using AI for everything, including design and including creating their brands and everything. The problem with that is they've lost this very common piece of knowledge, which is at the end of the day, who buys your product or service? A human being does, right? Well, if you talk to anyone from someone like us who knows technology, knows design and everything like that, to someone who, like, let's say my 2-year-old uncle, right? Who doesn't even touch computers that often, right? Everyone hates seeing AI generate content. They hate seeing AI generated brands. They see it as slop. They see it as unprofessional. They see it as you're not caring enough to grab my attention. And so you lose trust with that audience. And they're like, okay, here's your competitor. They actually have very well designed brand and content and everything like that. They're speaking to me like I'm a human being rather than just like trying to grab my attention with useless slop and everything. I'm going to go with them over you. And so there's this big lack of trust that's happening because of over leveraging AI. And what we're going to see is right now, we have to kind of work through this bubble that is close to bursting, but could still take a couple of years to burst, in that companies are going to realize we can't use AI for everything, especially when it comes to design and brand. And we have to figure out, okay, where can we use AI, but where can we inject a person into it? A good example of this is I have a client that I've been working with, and they came to me, they like, hey, Rocky, listen, our vendor created this template for slide decks in PowerPoint. We want to use Claude in order to be able to have our team generate decks for themselves that are on brand and that don't look like crap. I'm paraphrasing a bit. And so I went in and built out an entire system in Claude for them to basically do this. Now, the biggest thing is that anyone who is using Claude for design, they know that you can't really get it to 100%. There always is going to need to be some sort of designer in the loop to get it to that 100%. And I was able to build for them a system that they're actually launching today as we speak for their teams to be able to build out these decks to about 80%. And then a designer comes in and finishes it for them. Now, a lot of people would hear that and they're like, Rocky, you just basically took away someone's job. I didn't. They were going to be doing that anyway. They were going to create these decks with Claude. A designer was still involved. A studio was still involved in building out the template. I was involved in building out the system behind it, the architecture of the project and everything in Claude. And so really what I've done is, yes, I'm not going to go in there and create all these decks. I wouldn't want to create all those decks. The vendor wouldn't want to go in and create all those decks because it's boring work. What we've done is we've made our jobs easier because now that vendor is still going to go in. They're going to take those decks from 80 to 100%. They still get their hours in. They still get their time and everything. And the client is happy because they've saved a lot of that in between pieces of it. And so I think that as long as you're doing it strategically and as long as you're making sure to communicate to the client that a human still needs to be involved with this, it's okay to do that. And I know that's a big, rambling on and everything.
No, I think it's important. Yeah. I think it's important to know because there's plenty of people. I have a buddy of mine who's trying to bring me on a project for the whole branding system, and he has AI agents going. That's his business, is to optimize to get everything moving faster for their lead acquisitions for I think for construction companies. But the point is that he's using it smartly. Obviously, you have people who are going to talk about, it's bad for the environment. It ruins the land. It's,
my wife,
drinking water. And I understand that. You have to understand it. But unfortunately, that's kind of where we're at. It's here. It's not going anywhere. Obviously, we'll see where it ends up, see how far down the line we reach Mad Max, society. But I'm really just dropping like a bunch of movie references today. So I think it's important regarding the system. I assume you create an AI agent to help build this out for you, but are they getting design files or does the designer would have to go in to Claude and just revise it to like, hey, we actually like hex code is actually 3015AB or whatever it is, or are they just downloading the file and then just, it's a Google spreadsheet. I could just tweak it in Google that way and upload to the deck.
They won't even have to do that actually. At the end of the road where they've gone through, they've shared with this specific project, they could share a PDF, a Word document, or a crappy deck that Claude had spit out earlier. All those different formats, they could just throw it in there and they just say, hey, I need a deck. This is like a quick sentence in order of like what I'm trying to do. And then it'll just start going and it'll start working in the background. The fastest I was able to do it was like 15 minutes to as much as 30 minutes in order to generate a final deck. It'll go through 2 checkpoints. The first checkpoint is it goes through and looks at everything. It splits it up into all the slides in a table, comes out with a specific group of questions where you could literally answer with just 1 or 2 words per question. You don't have to give a full length answer. And then it goes and starts running and creating the deck itself. The output is an actual PowerPoint presentation that's already been used, the template, already has all the colors set up and everything. And you could take it, bring it into PowerPoint, bring it into Google Slides, and then all you have to do is just give it some additional feedback or bring it to the designer, and then they can go in and make the changes. And it really worked so much better than I thought. The issue that it ran into was graphics. Any type of graphics or charts or things like that, that's where the designer would have to go into. It can follow the template, follow the examples that we put in there and everything, and it'll be able to get to a good point. But there's always small little things that get kind of like messed up and mangled. And this is not uncommon. The problem is that you could give 300 people the same prompt, same style references, and all they have to do is copy and paste it into Claude, and you'll get 300 different outputs. And with brand, that is a horrible thing. Some people are like, oh, wow, 300 people are going to get the different results. That's not good because you want everything to be consistent. And that's what we're working towards. We're working towards that consistency.
Wait, brand consistency, is that a real thing? Is that something that people should actually be concerned about? The answer is yes, people.
Yep. It's what has brought in, it's what's kept me alive for the last 10 years. For sure.
Now, what about using AI for text and posts and stuff like that? I see people post and I'm like, come on, put a little bit of effort into your brain to change it up a bit. I mean, I understand it makes it easier and more efficient, and might help produce the work, but change it up a bit.
So I don't think I've talked too much about this, but what I've created for myself is I call it my bench. And what it is it's, they're not really agents. They're skills and reference files in Claude. And one of my bench members is named Ogilvy, and Ogilvy's job is to help me with content. And what that is, it could be anything from helping create an outline to actually creating a first draft of a post. It could be comments on posts. In fact, whenever I create a LinkedIn post, it creates a V1 draft, and then it creates a series of comments that I should add to that post throughout the day. It'll include hashtags and everything like that. And then what I do is I have that first draft pulled up. I open up Notepad and I start writing my own version of it. Okay. So I never copy and paste the original version that it shared. I go and write my own version. I'm always changing things. I leave in misspellings and everything like that because I want people to know like I'm actually going in and writing this myself. I'm not just copying and pasting it. And then what I'll do is I'll then go and copy that, paste it into Ogilvy, so it learns my writing style and everything. And it gets to the point now where like I've been using it now for the last 3 months, and it gets to the point where that V1 is very close to what I would write. And so there's only small tweaks that I need to have made. But that skill and those reference files are built specifically for me. I can't just go and give it to someone and they can use it to write content. It'll just sound like what I would write. And so I have to still come up with the idea. I still have to come up with the story or whatever else is inside that post. But I'm fine with doing that because it's still got me in it. It's still got like my ideas and everything. But for people who are using AI to create everything, including like the graphics for it and all that, you're only cheating yourself. If it's something where you're using it how I do, where it's the starting point, or at least like used for a part that you normally would struggle with, I think it's totally fine for that. And I'll use it for, like, let's say if I write a LinkedIn post, I might use it to create email to my newsletter, or maybe some sort of Instagram post or something like that. Mind you, I'm still designing the Instagram post. I'm still recording the Instagram post, but I'm using it to extend out what I've already created.
AI is a tool, just like anything else. Like I think that's the bottom line. I think people forget about that. And it's kind of like we all need to just learn. So if you're really hard-nosed and really against it, it's going to be tough because unfortunately the world may look like a dystopia. It's kind of what we have to do at the moment. We'll figure it out, hopefully.
The thing that a lot of people need to also remember is that as content creators, we are under so much pressure to constantly be putting out stuff and being consistent and always having a fresh idea on something. Guess what? We can't. We're not robots, but yet now we're using robots to help with that.
It's exhausting.
It really is. Like it's always been a hard thing for me is to stay consistent. And so like I use AI for so many different things. Like I talked about, I have the transcript from this call. I have transcripts from pretty much all of my calls. I have it run through an automation tool and everything. And then it spits out what I call story bank ideas, where it's set up to where this bank is constantly refreshed, new stories are put in, and then when I need ideas, I'll go to Ogilvy and be like, hey, Ogilvy, what are 12 things that we could potentially talk about this week based on our story bank or based on previous calls or things like that? It goes through, looks at the story bank, looks at transcripts, and it says, hey, here are some things that you could possibly talk about. And then we go from there. So it's like, my brain can't handle that. I have ADHD. I can't remember everything. I can barely remember what I ate 2 days ago. I can barely remember what I talked about an hour or two before this call. I need to have something in order to, stay on course and everything. And so it helps me out tremendously.
Some of it I've noticed. I've just seen that. That's why I'm pointing out. But also, like I said, I was in the one community platform where plenty of people and coaches or communities are at. And I've seen people where English isn't the first language. So they use AI to help them say everything. I was like, oh, okay. Now I see like the connection. But I think as long as we use our heads, we're not just a hat rack.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course I love hats, but,
is that a Cleveland hat, by the way?
No. So this is, it's called North something. I'm horrible with names, so I forget even brand names sometimes. Actually, does it say it in here somewhere? No, it
Northern
does
Supply
not.
Co. Something like that.
So I'll have to look. I'll send it to you.
Okay.
But yeah, this is my only hat I have from them, and it is my favorite hat. I keep it safe because my one of my dogs is still a puppy, and he loves to chew up my hats, and I keep this one out of reach from him and my son.
This hat smells like dad.
No, but back to the AI discussion. The thing that I can't stand with AI though is AI designers. I am not afraid to talk out against it. Like I use AI every day, but I don't use it to design. I use it with strategy or come up with ideas or organize my crazy ADHD life and everything.
Again, you use it as a tool, a separate tool.
Yeah, as a separate tool. Yeah. But for the people who are using it to be the designer and everything, that's not good. I can even understand using Midjourney for mockups. I use it for mockups. I use it for background imagery, textures, and things like that. And I think that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think it's for the people who are using it to do all their design, to build all their stuff and everything. That's where you run into that real problem. Because if you are a brand designer and using AI, nothing that you create can be copyrighted.
Exactly.
It's very hard to even get it potentially trademarked and everything. And so there's no way that you can sell a logo to a client that's AI generated because they can never own it. It's not possible for them to ever own it.
That's the one thing that I always have to remind people is that you can't copyright any of this. Whatever it is, it's not yours. I came across a video where they had some lawyer, a copyright lawyer, talk about music because it was something about AI generated music. And he was saying that if you create the tune by humming the and they make that, you only own the melody from the humming, that's yours, and you own the words because that's your copyright. But anything else, if you have them generate a whole song for you, it's not really copyrightable. Like you could use it and that's great, but so can other people. I've started participating in Facebook groups for like podcasts and stuff like that. And I've seen the majority of these podcast cover art is AI generated. I'm like, ooh. And then all of a sudden everyone's using this AI ad with this grunge horror typeface. I'm like, what are we doing, people? Like there's already a half decent version on like the font or something. Go there if you really need to use something like that, or like creates. It's like, like what I originally mentioned earlier about the mom and pop shop who's going to use AI for their art for their flyer. You weren't in their budget anyway. I mean, just go to Fiverr and see if you can find somebody. I know it's not the greatest for designers, but like at least it'll help you look a little bit more reputable. That's just
but even now, a lot of the Fiverr designers are now AI designers.
Yeah.
No, when
if they're not stealing your work, it's AI. Yeah.
Yeah. I went to a conference last year and they had someone on stage, and this was a design conference. I'm not going to say what design conference, but they had someone on stage that they were an AI designer. They were proud to call themselves an AI designer. And
I could hear the boos in my head.
Look, no one said anything out loud because all the topics for this conference was basically, it was like 90% AI, and everybody was like, what are we doing here? But someone had, me and a few other people were in a Twitter thread talking about this person and what they were talking about. And the funniest thing happened. They tried to do something in 20 minutes. They said, oh yeah, I can do this. I can get a landing page out in 20 minutes, no problem. 20 minutes later, they hadn't even gotten any type of structure at all done. Nothing was done. In fact, they were badgering, or they were basically talking a lot of crap about other companies and stuff while they were on stage. And they were showing some previous work they had done. And they talked about, yeah, like I use AI for these ads and everything. And then there's these ads, which were an anomaly to me. I don't understand why, but I ended up designing them myself, not using AI, and they did great. And I'm like, you proved the point. The ads that were created by you actually did the work and created the ads, even though they weren't great. You created themselves. They did better than the slop. And so that should be the writing on the wall for you.
One argument that I did hear is that as AI does improve, everything will get better. It will learn to get better. So the idea is to position yourself as more of an expert in whatever field you're in. It's kind of something to stand out. Like, hey, I'm not just like I said, a pixel pusher.
I feel like we should go back to being craftsmen. That's what we should do. And I think that's what we ultimately will. But a counterpoint to what you were just talking about, even as AI improves, it's only ever average. It can never actually go above average. It will always create the average of what it sees online, and it's already behind. When you have AI generate a design or something like that, it's only ever going to be the average of what it's found, of what it's created itself and everything. And it's hard for me to even say created because it's not creating. It's never going to go beyond that. If you're fine with average, if you want an average brand, if you want an average website and everything like that, then do that. But if you're a startup in the tech industry, average is not what you want. You want to be above average. You want to stand out. You want to be great, because that's the only way that you're going to get the money from the investors, right?
If you market it correctly, you could put a nice twist to it. It just reminded me of, there's an AI movie that appeared at the Cannes Film Festival. Did it really? No. The festival was going on, and they just happened to be showing it at a theater like near it. And they were just able to spin that PR where it got the headlines.
Yep.
Where it seemed like that. Now, don't get me wrong. Some of those AI, like Higgsfield and all that, really has impressive work where it's like, okay, this could fool. Like, it's going to get really tricky and scary. Especially with the phone calls, you ever see those phone calls where people calling up and they're pretending so you have to call somebody else, like, hey, are you really, like, is this you? And ransom?
Well, look at what happened with us in this podcast. You had sent me an email asking me on the podcast, and I sent you a DM on LinkedIn, like, hey, was this really you, or is this someone trying to be you, like, and everything? Because that's what we're in at this point.
Yeah, there's so many people spoofing the emails. Yep. I'm like, dude, no, that's my email. That's literally me. It's a professional email because I'm being all professional about it. But yeah, I was like, oh damn. I'm like, does this mean he's going to say no? Because I was like, oh. I was trying to be professional. I wasn't trying to come off as some sort of scammer. But damn, there's a couple people I sent emails out. I'm like, now I'm curious if they think it's not legit. I have to wait for the reels to retweet to see, like, hey, see, I know this person.
Yeah,
it's really me.
Yep.
Rocky, let me just wrap up with a little bit of rapid fire questions. These are just quick thoughts, fun, just kind of lighten the mood as we end our conversation, as we come down to the final destination. What are 3 books that you recommend? And they could be design books. It could be fiction, nonfiction, whatever. Just 3 books.
Ryan Holiday, The Obstacle is the Way.
Oh, interesting.
It got me through a lot of rough patches. I highly recommend that. In fact, it's the second most bought book that I buy for people, because I constantly am giving out books as gifts, and that's the second most common. The first common one is The Richest Man of Babylon. If you've never read it, I highly recommend it. It is very good. It's great for money, like learning how to make money work for you. It's more of a do as I say, not as I do, because I'm horrible with that. Another book, let's go with fiction this time. One of my favorite books that I've probably read multiple times over is The Lock. It's a book about the Loch Ness Monster, and it's actually by the same person who wrote the Meg series. So you've seen the Meg in theaters with Jason Statham. It's actually based on a book, and the same author wrote a Loch Ness Monster series. I've heard they might make it into a movie.
Oh, that's pretty cool. That'd be fun.
Yep.
You think Jason Statham would play it? I can't. That's I
It's
can't.
pretty good. It's pretty good.
One thing I do like about Ryan Holiday is that I remember hearing him say, "You don't have to finish a book. Like if it doesn't interest you enough, the author didn't do his job. You're allowed to close it, move on." A lot of people hate reading because they power through to finish a book. What do you listen to while you're working?
So sometimes it's silence. Sometimes I'll literally put my AirPods in and just not have anything play. Other times I'll have movies on. I am a big movie buff. I have a personal server with over 1,500 movies on it, and I'm constantly watching movies. So I'll either have it on my computer or I have a TV here in my studio. I'll put it on. I also will listen to audiobooks. Right now I'm re-listening to the Harry Potter series. I'm on book 5 and it's the full cast series. And that's what I've been listening to recently. It's very rare, even though I can get really into the flow of things, it's very rare for me to listen to music. If I do, it's probably going to be stuff like Blink-182 type theme music and everything.
Fascinating. Because I love just that question because everyone works with different things. You're not the first person that said audiobooks, but the movies, that's a good one. Which, obviously I have to ask, what's on rotation right now when it comes to movies?
People are going to laugh at this one. So I've seen Project Hail Mary probably about a dozen times, maybe even close to 24 times.
Is it really that good? I haven't seen it yet.
I really enjoy it. And I've listened to the audiobook too. And the audiobook is really good as well. I would say then another movie for me would be The Devil Wears Prada and Devil Wears Prada 2. I really like the journey. And it's kind of like really inspirational kind of movies. And then a movie that I've been watching a lot of, but I haven't added to my top 10 list, is Urban Cowboy. John Travolta, 1978 or 79. Yeah, 78. I don't know why, but I just like Urban Cowboy and everything. So I'll watch that from time to time. If there's a movie I want to watch or I want to just watch a movie, I'll just put that on.
Fair enough. I like that. Now, are you a TV show guy too?
Yes. I've definitely watched a lot of TV in my life for sure.
Is there anything on rotation or is it just strictly movies at the moment?
For many years, the series I used to watch a lot was Numbers. I would constantly have that playing in the background. I would say Stranger Things is definitely something I've watched many times over. In fact, like I've got my
I have yet to finish the series. I started and I just stopped and just never got to finish it. I just want to so I can complete it.
Honestly, like it could have been way better. The ending.
I'm
like sure everybody has probably said that.
Everybody said the same thing.
Right now, I'm actually watching World War II with Tom Hanks. That's definitely been something I've been watching quite often. But like a lot of old TV too. Like I just started rewatching Everybody Loves Raymond, The Office, Big Bang Theory. So I'm constantly, going through different stuff.
For those people who are old enough to remember watching it when it came out, you are old. According to Rocky.
Hey, I watched Home Improvement, Everybody Loves Raymond when I was a kid and everything. I mean, Big Bang Theory is not really that old, but I know that, it's no longer new episodes. So
it's still one of the top 10 most watched TV shows. Like,
oh yeah.
What's your biggest client red flag?
Probably ghosting. Communication and ghosting is definitely the biggest one. Anytime that a client goes silent for too long, it definitely is a big red flag for me. I had a client from hell once who ghosted me for 3 months, then came back, became a client, and then they kept ghosting for a couple weeks at a time. And then finally, when I went to go pull the plug, they threatened me with legal action. And I was like, fine, listen, this is what we'll do. I'll finish up the project, but we have to have it. I have to have all the stuff by the end of the month in order to move forward. If you don't, then we're going to call this project completed. He was like, great, I'll give it to you next week. Nothing. Crickets. Never got back to me. And so the project closed. But from here on out, if a client ghosts me like a couple days, maybe even a week, that's okay. But if they ghost me for longer than that, I refuse the project.
Fair enough. And is there a green flag from a client?
Over communication. Definitely over communication is definitely good. Clients who pay like right after the invoice is sent. That's happened quite a few times.
Oh, those are the best.
I know, right? They're always the best. I wish that they would stay clients forever. That's probably like the biggest green flags are those two things.
That's great. I ask this to everybody. It's because I've seen the Inside the Actor Studio, and I've always liked this question when he asks at the end his top 10 questions. And you seem to be smiling, so you might know what's coming up. But if you don't, it is, what is your favorite curse word?
Oh God. And it's funny too, because I don't cuss on social media that much at all. My designer friends, we used to be on a Call of Duty kick where we would always be on Call of Duty. And they're like, Rocky, you're so different than when you're on social media because you don't cuss at all. But when you're playing this game, you cuss like a sailor. And I'm like, yes, I do. I would have to say is definitely my favorite one, and the one when I get pissed off the most, like when I'm watching the World Cup and everything. Yes, that's the word I use the most. I have to catch myself because I say it too much in front of my 3-year-old son.
They learn.
He has not picked it up, luckily.
Good.
So,
yeah, my kid says like, oh, "You said a bad word." I'm like, "Oh, no, I didn't."
But yeah, no, it's especially during this World Cup. There has been a lot of
Rocky. It was just good to chat. Where can people find you? Send all the information. What can they do? Sign up for Green Cyclops, all of that. Give me all that information.
They can find me anywhere on social media at Rocky Roark. Very easy to find me. My website is bluecyclops.co, where you can see all my work and everything. I'm going to be speaking this year at Circles Conference in September in Grapevine, Texas. You guys can see me there and everything. If you guys hear me talk on here and you guys show up to the event, say hi, let me know and everything. I'm always open to talk, and I will talk your ear off as I have with Joe here.
Thank you, Rocky. Appreciate it.
No problem.
I love the sound effects. But Rocky, again, I really do appreciate you taking the time. Thank you for coming on and having a conversation with me, and hopefully everyone learned a thing or two about you and just the topics that we talked about. And I just want to say, after that, I'm Joe Barron. You can follow me at brandonbarron.com and all that, and market to me. Love the marketing as we draw in and the marketing that comes along with it. And that's it, folks. Bye, everybody.